Hey guys, this is Richard Beck with Beck Tools, and this is going to be another really quick, uncut, unedited video. So today I'm going to talk about how to get the base plate on your MR-1 perfect. So originally I poured the concrete, I waited about 24 hours and I machined it. A year later I came back and I noticed that the front was 12 thou different than the back. And that matters because when I want to make something that's flat, it's not flat. So I wanted to correct that. So what I'm doing is I made a new program, and so this program has a 30,000 step over, 0.03 inches. Now the reason I'm doing that is because the program Langmuir Systems has a big step over. Now on that big step over, if you don't have it trammed perfectly, you're going to have kind of like a washboard base. And then if you try to put an indicator and sweep that, because it's a washboard, it's going to be really, really hard to trim in your head because you're going to get a lot of the washboard, you're going to have a lot more variation. So, also, there is thermal growth that happens because of thermal expansion in the spindle. So, when you start this program that only has 30,000 step over, it's going to run for an hour and a half, 2 hours. By the time it finishes, it's hot and the spindle has grown 3 to 4 thousandths. At that point, now this end is lower than the back end because the spindle expanded. So here's what I did. Let's open up. And so you can see, I ran this to about the center, and that was about an hour. So at this point, the thermal mass should have stabilized, or the thermal increase should have stabilized. I'm also spraying the coolant right on the spindle instead of on the cutter. And it's dripping down and it's kind of flooding the area. So it's still lubricating. But at this point, the temperature of the coolant has stabilized. The temperature of the spindle has stabilized. And that point is when I stop and I start over. So basically, the entire base plate is going to be cut after the spindle has thermally stabilized. If you could also just turn your spindle on, 8,000 RPMs, come back an hour and a half later, and have your coolant spraying right on the front of your spindle, and that will warm your coolant, and that will, your spindle is going to rise. At some point, the temperature on the spindle is going to stop rising because of the amount of coolant flowing over top of it. And once you reach that equilibrium, which, then, and only then, machine your entire base plate with a small step over. So this is going to be a super pristine surface. If I want to put an indicator to sweep, I'm going to be able to do that and get the head trimmed even better. The head is trimmed really, really well. I spent hours getting it dialed in. And I just wanted to, if you're going to make quality parts, this is where it starts. You have to start here. The next thing I want to really, really dial in is the squareness. And for that, I'm going to buy a large machinist square. Right now I have a 1-2-3 block, which really doesn't give me the resolution that I want. So I will be getting a bigger square and doing that. Anyways, that's my tip for the day. And if you have any questions, let me know. This also might be another one of those things where I put this file on the Beck Tools website for free. I'm working on finding a plugin for WordPress that allows me to do free downloads because I'm starting to get a lot of digital content and I want to post that over there. So